Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We will be streaming live soon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We will be streaming live soon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We will be streaming live soon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We will be streaming live soon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We will be streaming live soon.
The campus of the Mount Zion Baptist Church of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Welcome to Celebrating Black Excellence. With your hosts, the conscious of Kalamazoo, Brother Buddy Hannah, and the pastor of the Mount Zion Baptist Church, Dr. Idris Moore.
Welcome. We are so grateful that you join us again tonight. This is the fourth night this month. The month that we celebrate is Black History Month, that we're here. Fourth Thursday, that we're here celebrating Black excellence. We believe that God is doing some things that's phenomenal among those that live among us and work among us in our local communities. So we're here tonight to celebrate Black excellence, individuals that are doing excellent things, succeeding in our community that's noteworthy, and we want to make sure that word, and we want to hear from them on this night. So look, share this with someone else. Make sure you hit the share button, and during the telecast, as we're on tonight, make sure you give your comments and questions as we interview these individuals tonight. So make sure you take the time to share, like, and give us your comments as we proceed tonight. I am grateful, my friend and my brother, my comrade in this effort. We're here to once again, thankful to have Buddy Hannah with us. Buddy, we're back again.
Thank you, Pastor. Glad to be here. And as always, I'm honored to be your co-host, man. I'm getting used to that being your co-host. That feels good.
Absolutely, man. Good to have you.
Thank you. And it's good to have you all with us tonight as well. We always welcome you to tune in, whatever, Facebook, Zoom, however you are tuning in. And as the pastor said, please share with your friends, your neighbors, or what have you, because we have some exciting guests for you tonight. We have with us tonight Mr. Idris Rashid, who is owner and operator of two of Chick-fil-A franchises here in Kalamazoo. One recently opened up on West Main, on the corner of West Main and Drake. So that's where you know where to go now. We also have with us Brother Nathan Bolton, who is the Southwest Michigan Market Manager and Vice President of Old National Bank. And certainly, last but not least, we have with us Ms. Denise Crawford, who is the president and CEO of the Family Health Center, which is doing so many good things in our community. And we're happy and honored to have all of you here today. So welcome to each and every one of you.
So, buddy, we got a power-packed panel tonight. So we got food, right? We got chicken, and we got money with the bank, and we spend too much money, eat too much chicken, and get unhealthy. We got our health.
We can go to the Family Health Center.
That's right. That's right.
So tonight we got it covered tonight. so tonight, make sure you get ready to tune in, because I'm excited, buddy, about this panel. The expertise and the success and the things that these individuals are doing in our community among us. We actually can touch these individuals. We know them. They live among us, and they look like us. And I'm excited, buddy, about this panel tonight.
Exactly. So we're going to jump right in it. You ready?
Let's jump.
All right. We're going to get it started. Now, I will tell all of you that I ask the easy questions and then Pastor asks the hard questions, okay? So I'm going to be I'm going to be nice. Denise, we're going to start with you. Just tell us a little bit. We know you from Kalamazoo.
Absolutely.
Hometown?
Yes. Born and raised.
Yes. Well, just tell us a little bit for people who may not know about you. You've done so many things, and you've done such a wonderful job over at the Family Health Center. But just give us a short introduction to yourself.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, as indicated, I'm very proud to be here from Kalamazoo, born and raised. Spent my early years, like so many, in my early education was in public schools, and then we went to Catholic schools, returned to public schools, and so graduated actually from Comstock High School, then went to Western, and so I'm a very proud Bronco, and did my undergrad in psychology, and then did my graduate degree in actually social work. So working with people, taking care of people, et cetera, was always a part of me. And then, so did that quite a bit for quite some time at Borges. And my husband loves to say, initially she started out and she wanted to save the world. And somewhere in between there, she decided she wanted to run the world. And then I went to Notre Dame and got an MBA. And this is what, it has come to. And so the beauty of the work that I do at the Family Health Center, I really get to incorporate both. I get to really work and take care of people, and then I, of course, get to do the business side.
Right.
And so, that really incorporates, me today. Thank you.
Now, Brother Rashid, you wasn't born and raised here, but you spent a whole lot of time here because you are a proud Bronco yourself.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be back here in Kalamazoo.
I'd love to. First and foremost, it makes me feel real good to specifically be back right here at Mount Zion. As I reminded Pastor, in 2000, I actually got saved right here in this house. So it makes me feel real good. This is another homecoming, so honored to be here. But I am from Pontiac, Michigan, born and raised, and went to Western Michigan. Came in through the MLK program. Well, back then it was a boot camp you had to attend. For the summer of '95, Mr. Bates, he made us all run all day long in that boot camp, but I thank him to this day for that, just for giving me an opportunity. So graduated from Western with 2 degrees, business, and then I did a master's in leadership. And I chose leadership as a general studies because I knew I was going to be doing something with people in some shape, form, or fashion. One thing I think I fast forwarded is at the age of 10, I was cutting grass. At 13, I was running a basement barbershop out of my dad's house. So with that leadership degree and with that taste of entrepreneurship at a very young age, I knew I had to be my own boss. So I started at Daimler Chrysler, a professional career, and then I went to PepsiCo, and I ended up coming back here to Michigan and opening up the first Chick-fil-A franchise in Portage, Michigan, and now on to number 2. So honored to be here, and thank you again for having me.
All right. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and we look forward to digging a little bit deeper in here. That's just the surface we're scratching. All right. Brother Bolton, how you doing, man?
Doing good, thank you.
Yeah. I know your folks, boy. I know that you are embedded in this community. You have family here. You have in-laws here and everything. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first I'd like to give honor to God and also say that I'm very humbled to be on this stage with two great leaders that we have here this evening, but also to say that I came from a small community called Robbins, Illinois, and I came here, I used athletics to get to Western Michigan University. So like everyone else on the stage, I'm a Bronco. I used that because I was very good in math. I was a finance major. Then obviously I had a business administration minor and Black American Studies minor and an econ minor. I used that to go into banking. And I found when I got there that there weren't too many people who looked like me. But it was encouraging to me to know that others had told me, my parents especially, that you always can do whatever you want to do as long as you keep faith. And I continue to strive to keep the faith to be able to someday be able to help others. And that's a goal of mine always, is to try to help others. So throughout my career, what I try to do is help as many others as I can, especially minorities.
All right, so now you know a little bit about them. You know a little bit about what they do, but you're getting ready to find out a lot more about them. So we're going to turn it over to Pastor, and he's going to kick off the questioning. And in the meantime, once again, if you have some questions and everything, please let us know, and we will direct them to an individual or to them in general. So, Pastor?
All right, thank you, buddy, and definitely thank all of you for agreeing to come and share with our YouTube, Facebook audience, the Twitter audiences tonight, because these individuals have something to say. And Denise, I really want to start with you because you're African Americans, but you've been running the Family Health Center since 2009, and you've oversaw a $10 million addition expansion right next to us, and there's a $7 million expansion going on Alcott Street. How did you do that? What kept you going in spite of racism, in spite of setbacks and drawback? What is it that kept you going, kept pushing you to this level and maintaining and causing you to maintain at this level?
So, excellent question. Thank you, Pastor. You know, a lot of it was just, I think that cold hard, what we oftentimes refer to as grit, just that determination. And so to back up just a little bit, you know, I will share with you that I spent the first 20 years of my career at Borges, and so working within the healthcare system at Borges. And that was really instrumental, I think, because when I came to the Family Health Center, the key and the fundamentals was that, you know, when I worked within the Borges healthcare system, we were not taught or trained on how to provide healthcare to poor, underserved individuals. And there was never a focus on, you know, making sure that as we build institutions for poor, underserved people. And we set up, you know, quality for poor, underserved people. So, interestingly enough, when I arrived at Family Health Center, and, you know, keep in mind, at that time, I was young, I was single, I wasn't married, and so just coming out of graduate school, I was ready to go, like, let me at it. So you know, God had lined up, everything was perfect, it was the perfect timing. You know, Obama had just become president, and so he had this plan that many of us knew nothing about, this whole, you know, expanding healthcare for 26 million additional individuals. So in any event, we had the opportunity to apply for this $10 million grant. Now, watch how this works. So I come in, I'm the new CEO. I literally had been there about 2 months. And so I go and write the grant. And the grant, the maximum you can write the grant for is $10 million. I write a grant for $10 million. Let's go. You have to then take the grant to the board. I understood that, and so I take it to the board, and the board is looking like, who is this? Has she lost her mind? And initially, they thought, what would we even do with $10 million? Because that just, again, nothing negative, but that was the mindset. Like, do we even need a facility that's $10 million, et cetera, et cetera? So, the story goes on. And the board chair, fortunately, and I'll just give you this small caveat, but anyway, he, seen my kind of shock, thinking, wow. And he initially says, well, hey, we're going to ask our new CEO to go back and reevaluate. And similarly, we're going to ask the board to go back and reevaluate. And we're going to come back together and look at this. So we do that. Again, being new to this whole grant thing, we didn't do this in the hospital. I come back, I bring, and we hadn't talked. The board comes back. They've got a new mindset. I have a new mindset. I bring back my new grant. 9.5 million. And so, needless to say, we came to the 10 million. So when it came through, we were awarded, 9.5 million, which is what we had said. We were awarded, we came to the agreement of 10 million. And so we were awarded the largest grant in the state of Michigan. I was thinking it could have been, it could have been the whole 12 if y'all would have let me roll. But we did it. And the center is there, and things just started to roll from there. But it really just came from, I think, that fundamental background and being around people oftentimes who didn't look like me, who did not apologize. It was like, this is what we need. This is what is focused. This is what, is out there. Let's go for it. This is what... I can write a $10 million grant. I can make it work. I can write a $12 million grant, and that was the rest of the story. The other piece that I would add is that when I arrived, I didn't know this in the interview, but when I arrived at the Family Health Center, we were actually, our budget, we were $1 million in the hole. And so that is not the story today, but that was another caveat. And so, but we were ready to go. I was my MBA, I had a focus on finance. And so I was determined. That we were going to do this for our people. And through the grace of God, through the love of the community, we've been able to do some positive things. There's still more work to be done, but we've been able to do it. But to answer your question, I think it was that grit. It's that determination and that grit.
But you felt that though you knew you could do it, and you went for it, because you're talking about in an underserved area of our community, and you construct a $10 million impressive-looking building in this community. That's impressive to me. That you were able to convince individuals that have not heretofore invested in this community with those type of resources. You did that, and you were an African-American woman. And so, did they look at you funny? Did you have any pushback? Because this is phenomenal to me.
So I would honestly say, and it's interesting you say that, every step of the way, there was pushback. From being a black female, from being African American, there was pushback. I remember working with the architects. We were very focused. I was very focused on how I wanted the building to look, and not from a controlling standpoint, but I wanted it to be very respectful to the community. I was very focused on, I wanted when people to walk into the building or to walk up to the building, I wanted them to feel proud. I wanted it to be a place where people felt welcomed. I wanted a lot of lights, a lot of windows, et cetera. Interestingly enough, the architectural firm, the closest building in their perspective that they could align to our work was prisons. And so they had built numerous prisons in Michigan. And they kept bringing these sketches to me. And I said, no, this isn't, the thought. And we would go back and forth. And they had also had some experience with schools. And so I kept trying to give my vision, and then they kept giving their vision. And I remember they would go around me and, tell, members of my staff that, well, doesn't she understand? Like, we have to make this, stick. Like, we have to actually build this. And, there was a point where I said, well, perhaps you can make them understand. Like, I have to actually pay for this. And so this is how we want this building to be. And you would hope that you don't have to get to that point, but I just recall every single step of the way, it felt like we were hitting these roadblocks that people just really had their own vision for what the facility should look like, even down to the colors. But I will only conclude to this, Pastor, and I have a loving, praying, when they talk about those God-fearing mothers. And so she was there every step of the way, like, you're doing the right thing, keep it going, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I have my family. But on the day we opened the center, so throughout all of that, you go through this whole process. And I remember it was this little girl, I don't know, she must have been about 6, and she came in with her mother. And she walked through the door. Now, by this time, we've been through every nook, every cranny, every chair. You know how it is. Every light bulb. And she walked through the door, and she covered her mouth, and she just looked, and her eyes filled with water. And she said, "We get to come here?" And that did it for me. Every single bit was worth it. I said, and that's why we did this. I said, absolutely, baby, you get to come here for all your health care. This is your health center. And that's the rest of the story.
Amen.
That's why you do it. That's why you do it.
Well, we don't have to worry about asking the questions. Denise gonna tell us what we need to know.
Yeah, just give it a platform, right?
Hey, Brother Rashid had turned around. He was like, yeah. Why did I think of that? But that's okay, because when you ask people questions, you don't want to pry things out of them. You want them to tell you what you need, and that's good.
Amen.
So we're glad of that. Brother Rashid, I think that looking at your bio and everything, you got into business at an early age, so to speak, right? You started cutting grass when you was about 10.
Yes, sir.
And then by the time you was 12 or 13, but you had your own business that you was cutting hair, and you did that for about 10 years doing that. Tell us what motivated you to do that, and at an early age, what was some of the roadblocks or some of the things you had to encounter?
I'm going to be straight up. That's an easy one for me, because my motivation at that time was money. It was, I come from a big family, 13 of us total, and however I can help my family out is what I was going to do. And I just, at a young age, I just liked the fact that if I go and put effort into something and I get paid for it, I can go and I can buy my own school clothes, and I can, do things like keep my own gas in my car, and didn't have to go to my mom and dad about those little things. So that was my pure motivation, was just not being a burden to my parents and being able to help out around the house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rashid, but now though, and you knew you were going, and that's impressive to me that you knew you were going to be an owner, own your own business, be your own boss, and you actually came back to Kalamazoo, Michigan. There are no Chick-fil-A's. They are not really prevalent in this area, and you actually started one and owned and operating it, and now you've started another one. So once again, the same thing we asked Denise, in spite of all the setbacks and roadblocks, you did that. How'd you do that?
Oh, that's a great question. First and foremost, I was exposed to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, at a young age. I would say that. So that's number one. But the second most impactful person that I had in my life was my father. And that man worked 36 years and never missed one day for Consumers Energy as a serviceman. So having that impression on me at a young age, and he was a very, very patient man. Me in high school was not who you see before you today. One thing that I was ashamed of for a long time, I talk about it now, but I was ashamed, is that I failed in high school. Yep, I failed in high school. And having to pick myself back up and, go through all the necessary challenges and channels to get my education, and then figure out a way to get into college. It was a feat, but when I got into college, I began to thrive. And that's when I think it all came together for me that if I just work extremely hard, I can achieve anything that I want to achieve. And you couple that with being a super ultra competitive person that I am, once you pull it all together, I just start realizing that, you know, anything that I want to do, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to accept no, and I'm not going to accept failure. So when we look at Chick-fil-A, I initially applied in 2014. They told me no. I applied again later, and I just kept knocking at the door because I knew if I could be one of the first to bring it to Michigan, it was going to be a hit, and especially in Kalamazoo. Stevie Wonder would have saw that, you know. And so just despite all of that, it's just the opportunity. For me, it's very simple. If you give me a golden opportunity, I'm going to be excellent at it. And I'm going to be excellent at it for a couple reasons. Number one, because that's what I saw out of my father. Not missing one day of work in 36 years, Korean War veteran, Purple Heart. Having that example right there. And then number two, I know this is very simple. I want everybody watching to hear this. You have to do it not just for you, but for those who are coming after you. There's no better way to help other people than for you to be excellent. And so that is purely what drives me every single day. So hope I wasn't too long, Pastor.
No, you're fine, man. But so this example and this drive you had was strong enough to overcome, work through racism, work through setbacks, and to work through roadblocks. So it was that strong.
Oh, absolutely. And it's still today. If you look at my badge doesn't say owner or operator. It says in training. And to me, you never reach a point where you're done or you've achieved or you've accomplished. I still have a burning fire in my stomach right now. You know, I work 7 days a week, even though, yeah, Chick-fil-A's closed on Sunday, but Idris and his wife are open on Sunday. So 7 days a week, and despite all this going on, I still remain focused and just as hungry as I was before we opened up the first store.
All right.
All right. Hey.
Yeah.
And we don't have to pull nothing out of these
No,
people,
man,
That's,
no.
You know, we just let them talk.
Just let them talk.
So Brother Bolton, you better be ready, man. You know, we ain't got to pull nothing out of them, which is a good thing because that's what you like to hear people tell their stories, and that's what we're here for. Brother Bolton, you are, in the introduction, we said that you was Southwest Michigan market manager and vice president of Old National Bank. Before we get into being vice president of Old National Bank, because that's an accomplishment, right? What Southwest Michigan market manager? What is that entails?
Basically, what I do is I'm responsible for all the banking centers in Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. That's our Southwest Michigan market. So I manage the managers of all of those banking centers. So good, better, and different, I'm the one that's responsible for them.
He managed the managers, buddy.
He runs things, okay? We know that. Y'all have to bear with us. We got that when we had our very first show from Sister Alicia Parker, who said she runs things. So they run things, you know? We like that. We like that. Tell us, Vice President of Old National Bank, not a lot of African Americans, I would think, is in that position, especially here in Kalamazoo. How did this? What did you encounter, and how did you accomplish some of this, and what some of the opposition you faced?
I agree. There's not too many. I want to mention an irony that I find with everyone that's spoken. They have a foundation. Their leadership comes from a drive, but also they had support of parents and a faith in God. And I think I carry a lot of those same things. And I think it's important because when you see leaders, you want to see or emulate the things that they have that are helping them get to where they are. So those who are listening, understanding the fact that those things are important to persevere. But back to your question, when I first started, actually, I'll go back a little further. When I was in college at Western Michigan University, a professor, actually he was a dean of students at Yale, Dr. Alvin Poussaint spoke at a Black History Month speaking at Western Michigan University. And one of the things he talked about that really resonated with me was the fact that you're going to have to overcome obstacles and persevere over things because as an African American, you're not going to be given the same opportunities as easily as someone else. So when I went into banking, that was definitely true. Historically, banking is a white man's industry, not just females, but definitely white men. So coming into it, I started at a bank called First of America, which was a Kalamazoo-based bank. And I did become the first vice president there. And one of the things that I ironically noticed was there were some others who left because they went into other successful professions because of the obstacles in banking. But when you hear about people needing grants or people needing loans, Dr. Alvin Poussaint was adamant about we need to be at the table. And that resonated with me because if we don't have someone at the table, who's going to help when these people come in front of us and you have minorities who are looking for grants or you have minorities looking for loans? If you don't have someone to help them, or even further, one of the biggest things I hear a lot nowadays is you talk about the wealth of people, and Kalamazoo is definitely a philanthropy area where you see philanthropic people. I mean, I could start naming like Stryker and Upjohn, et cetera. But don't you wish that we had the estate planning or we had the trust that some of our counterparts have? I mean, I love what this community does for each other, but we still have so far to go as African Americans, and I think that's one of the things that drives me is educating and helping others to get to where we see some of our non-black people at this point in their lives.
But Bolton, but you were so on, you just looked at Buddy and you just forgot to even look at the camera. So you were just really, you was getting Buddy straight. You were letting Buddy know, like, look, this is the deal. And so you got that, you got, forget that camera. Let me get Buddy straight. Buddy, you need to know this. So, Buddy, I hope you got it. So thank you, Nate. But I want to ask you a camera looking in the camera question. So can I ask you a looking? So here's a looking in the camera question. So Nate, now you're talking about what do you experience today now? Because we're talking about banking industry and you're talking about vice president of banking. So you're around a lot of money. You see how money flows. You see where it goes. What are the challenges now in servicing the entire community, particular African American community? And what's the advantage of you being in that position?
I think to start with the challenge part, a lot of times, one of the things that's disappointing is a lot of African Americans won't take the initiative to even pursue that loan or that dream because they start out defeated and they don't believe. Like, if you hear what others were speaking about, the drive that they have right now, you don't see that. But unfortunately, I see people, they'll go to a loan, a cash advance place or whatever, when they could come to the bank and get the same thing for a lot less. So to me, that's something that's disappointing to see. But the other part is, I think even from an employment standpoint, I'd encourage more people to get involved in banking, but I think they're scared of banking. I don't know if it's because you're around the cash or because, again, it is not a lot of minorities in the business. So it does take a lot to be able to persevere through it. But at the same point, we need more people involved in it. We need more people at the table because who's going to help the minority if we're not there at the table?
So then in the banking industry, we know about the redlining and we know about historically the banking industry, okay, don't lend to this part and make it difficult. So once again, you being at the table, having to navigate, have you seen into that and have you had to deal with like, look, this is not right, and how are you instrumental in helping that move forward, Nate?
Absolutely, and actually some of that, I guess, in addition to being in banking, being on boards, because being on boards allows you to be able to see what's going on also in your community. And with both of those things, to mention redlining or CRA, those things actually are really predicated off the fact that we had people not able to live in certain areas, which is the redlining part, or borrow from certain banks, which is the CRA part, because of the color of their skin or their nationality. So understanding the fact that there are laws in place is one factor of it, but you can get around those, obviously. A big push right now is affordable housing. I hear a lot of times people speaking about affordable housing, and here in Kalamazoo, there is a big need for affordable housing. So sometimes when people are building buildings or they're actually renting out houses or doing new complexes, affordable housing is mentioned, but they find ways around it. That's where being at the table comes into fact. If you can be at the table and you can help make sure those things don't happen, that's helping your community. And then the other thing is, there's grants, there's loans that are available, but minorities don't know about it. Or in general, a great example is the first PPP loan. When it came out, the first people that took advantage of it was not the small businesses, and it definitely was not the minorities, black people. And because of that, someone like myself, if I don't reach out, shame on me, because they're not going to get that assistance any other way. So that's what drives me, is making sure that I'm at the table, A, to try to help, but also to disseminate the information to those who may be able to use that.
All right. Hey, Denise, now you got a question. This is your camera. You saw what Brother Bolton, he used that camera, you know. Matter of fact, Pastor, I thought like we might not need us no more. But when you told him to look at the camera, brother jumped on it. Jumped on it. Denise,
Yes,
so this
sir.
is your camera. This is your camera question tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've been CEO and president there, president and CEO of Family Health Center now for going on 12 years. You worked hard to get there. You put in your time on the Blue Pad team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did.
Tell us a little about now that you when you got there, what does it take to stay there?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I think it's really multifaceted, but you can never forget your calling or your purpose. You know, one thing that I think, again, that keeps me grounded, and I know I talk about my mom a lot, and obviously she's very important to me, along with others. But staying grounded. You know, I never, ever get confused that that's my family health center, or that that's my building, or that I have any ownership. If at any point, you know, I make it very clear, I have 15 bosses. I have 15 people that I report to. And just in case I get it twisted, they have no problem reminding me, so to speak. But more importantly, you know, that you're there for the people. And it's a huge responsibility. And that ultimately, as times change, you know, just, you know, take the pandemic, for example, that you are there to ensure that individuals have access to quality health care. Yeah. And that happens to be my primary job. And so regardless what may come about or what my interests may be or what I may think is important, it's never, ever, ever about me. And I think that's what keeps me grounded, and fortunately, that's what keeps me employed. Aside from that, you know, I would be remiss if I did not indicate that I have a phenomenal team. I am one of 300, and I think that piece is important to know that, you know, it's clearly about the entire you know, operation that keeps it going. But most importantly, just remembering your true, you know, calling and your true purpose.
Mm-hmm. Brother Rashid, now this is your camera moment, man. Take advantage of it, brother.
Oh, yeah.
You got 2 franchises. You serve good food. That's nothing.
Come on, somebody.
But what else? But what else does it take to keep those? You got 2 franchises. What else does it take to keep those 2 franchises, man?
Well, like I spoke about earlier, you got to remain hungry. In my opinion, maybe I'm crazy, but I still don't feel like I've accomplished anything. And I recognize that if we are not consistent in our service and with our food, then people may start going to some of those other people who sell chicken, who I'm not going to name, right? So, you know, it starts with being hungry. And when you couple that with, you know, having a purpose, which was mentioned earlier as well, you know, at the end of the day, my purpose is to open doors for other people. So when you couple my purpose with just the understanding that we have to be consistent and excellent every day, hey, we're going to, hopefully, God willing, we're going to remain at the same level of service. And that's the plan.
Mm-hmm. You know, you're talking about hungry. You know, you're making me hungry.
I hope so. I hope so.
I know you're talking about hungry initiative and working and not and going after it. But
I know exactly where you can go get a good.
But
I was going to ask, what time they close?
Yeah, man, there's another. He's sitting here with his little training badge on, man, and talking about Chick-fil-A franchises. I'm getting hungry. But then I'm going to have to go borrow some money, and then I got to go get some health
I'll
check.
take care of you.
But Rashid, now, let me ask you this now. You came to Kalamazoo, Michigan. You started a franchise in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Western Michigan. What were some of the challenges you had in getting into this area?
That is a great question. The challenge with Chick-fil-A, their franchise model is unique. Number one, they do the real estate deal, so I have nothing to do with that. However, what I have all to do with is the commitment to the pursuit of the opportunity. Chick-fil-A, every year, they encounter 80,000 applications, between 60 and 80,000 applications. So they have to narrow that down to one person. And so the challenge for me was to actually get selected. And I tell you, I did everything. I was volunteering now all while maintaining a full-time job. I was volunteering in stores. I was traveling to Ohio to meet operators, taking the trash out, I was doing everything that I possibly could to let them know that I was the guy. And then it didn't hurt that I was a Western Michigan University proud Bronco. So I don't think that hurt at all. And so, yeah, it was all a battle, and I'm glad to be here.
All right. Denise, during COVID-19, and I know that because I was one of the recipients, what are some of your challenges in making sure, because you're African Americans, and as you say, you're there to serve people and make sure quality health care is delivered to the people, and far as we're concerned, delivered to our neighborhood. With COVID-19 and African Americans receiving the vaccine, I know you were instrumental in getting it on the north side. So what are some of your challenges with what you're doing in delivering that service, and particularly the vaccine?
So there were many. I think to begin with, just the storing, and a lot of people truly don't understand just the meticulous handling of the vaccine. And it just has to go with just the storing, the management of the vaccine. It is very, very, very meticulous. It's very detailed. To begin, the particular Pfizer vaccine, it has to be stored at very, very cold temperatures, to the tune where the average, they're not standard freezers. And the standard price of these freezers are about anywhere from $22,000 to $30,000. So just that in and of itself, and then because of the coldness, you have to have special protection, and yada yada, and the amount of time that it takes to thaw it, and then the amount of time that you have to have it into someone's arms. So earlier we were talking, and one gentleman was saying that he understood that there's some opportunity outside of the age group that if there's some leftover, which that does happen with no-shows and individuals, and so we're not going to waste it. And you only have a 2-hour window. So after it's drawn up, after it's there, you have 2 hours to get it into someone before it goes bad. Other very, and when you have 90 seconds from the time that you take it out of the freezer to you get it into another placement. So, those are a lot of the backstory details. Getting it over to the north side, actually getting access to it. We were very fortunate to partner with Bronson. Bronson has a new phenomenal CEO. He happens to be African American, and so he was instrumental in working with us to ensure that all individuals within Kalamazoo County had access to the vaccine. Yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
I guess we got all kind of questions coming in, and it keeps going. Brother, this is for I think Denise already answered this. What has been the biggest challenge for each of you during this pandemic? Brother Bolton, what has been some of the challenge with you in terms of what's happening with this pandemic?
I think with the pandemic, a lot of people don't consider banking as a essential worker, but everyone wants their money, and they want it whenever they need it. And obviously, with the pandemic, some of the challenges have been how we can still do the same things in banking that we've always done. And it has been a challenge. Electronic banking has become a lot more popular, but when you're talking about a lot of people who want, or we need to be able to see them face to face, and imagine people walking into banks with masks on, a hat and a mask, and you can't identify them. That is banking 101. You don't allow that from a risk standpoint. So that's a challenge in itself, but also another challenge I think is there's a lot of people who do not respect the actual, what should I say, the medicine that goes into vaccination, or et cetera, to be able to say, stay 6 feet apart and wear a mask. No one ever asks, why do I have to wear shoes, or why do I have to wear a shirt to come in here, but why do I have to wear a mask? That's a challenge sometimes when someone doesn't want to obey what we have learned to be what is standard policy now, the new normal, so to speak. But then also, keeping information confidential has kind of changed also, because now you're doing a lot more through means, say, like a drive-through. A lot of people can hear everything that you're saying if you're talking through a speaker. So being able to change how you can keep the confidentiality of your customers, being able to change the way you can still service people the way we used to, has been challenges for us in the banking community.
Brother Rashid, I was going to ask you that same question. However, I think I need to ask you this question. We got time here because it's about 1, 2, 3 things here for you, brother. But so I want to ask you this one, and then you can touch on the other question. The question is, number one, what kind of employee do you look for? That's number one. Number two, they said that they noticed that there are more white employees than blacks. Is that because blacks are not applying? And final question is, how important is mentoring young people to you?
3 great questions. Yeah. Okay. Remind me that first question one more time.
The first question was, what kind of employee do you look for?
Oh, yeah, that's an easy one. We at Chick-fil-A love people that are enthusiastic about life and positive. If you got those 2 qualities, coupled with having a vision of what you want to be in life, you are made for Chick-fil-A. So come on and apply. If y'all looking, come on and apply. And at Chick-fil-A, to be honest, we hire just the best person, regardless of race or orientation, that is fit for the job. So that's just our standard. We want the best individuals that's going to bring a excitement to the workplace. Because if you ask anyone what sticks out most to them about Chick-fil-A, it's the service. So if you have a service mindset, you're positive and excited, that's what we hire for. And remind me that third one more time.
Okay, the third one is, how important is mentoring young people to you?
That is the best part of what I do every day. That's all I do every single day. There's nothing. The best thing about being a Chick-fil-A operator is that you are pouring into the lives of a lot of young people, a lot of people in general, but a lot of young people. Being able to influence them at such a young age and see them go off to college or see them land big jobs or internships, that's the best part of what I do every single day. And I'm also a former foster parent, and now I'm an adoptive father. So, to me, that's like mentoring on steroids when you're stepping up in the lives of other people. And there's no better reward that I can do than to help other people, and that's my purpose.
Yeah. Well, hold on, because another question just came in for you about, man, this chicken thing is business, man. Are grants and loans available to get into the franchise business, and do you know if Chick-fil-A is coming to Battle Creek? That was the question. In other words, they want to know, do you plan to take one to Battle Creek?
No. Idris is tapped out on the franchise, and I'm good with 2 freestanders. I am uncertain if there are any grants or loans. Again, the Chick-fil-A model is a little different than others. You have to come to the table with some liquidity. So I don't believe they would approve a loan or some of that nature. I'm uncertain, so I don't want to speak on that. Right. But you can learn a lot about our franchise model if you just go to chickfil-a.com and hit that franchising button, and it's a lot of information right there.
All right. Look, keep the questions coming in. As you can see, they're willing to answer all the questions that's come in, and we think we really have some outstanding panelists tonight and some phenomenal information. And this is for each one of you. As you're based on your experience, what you've gone through, how you've overcome, and the level you have reached this for, what advice would you have, first of all, for black people, and what advice would you have for white people? So those 2 questions, we'll start with those 2 questions. And Nate, why don't we start with you? Talk to black people and then talk to white folk.
To black people, I would say, one of the things that I found to be very important in most professions is you have to advocate for yourself. Earlier I spoke about having your name in the room or being in the room. Often you're going to find that doesn't take place because no one's been before you. So if there isn't, you're going to have to advocate for yourself. And some of that also comes from having some type of drive or leadership in yourself. And if you hear the panelists tonight, one of the things that you heard is having that faith in God. I would encourage you, if you don't have that, to find it, but also to understand that if you don't have a belief in yourself, who else is going to believe in you? So I would say that's a big part of it. And if I don't get another chance to speak, protect your assets. I mean, I would be willing to bet that most of the people listening do not have beneficiaries on their accounts. And that's something that's so disappointing when I see their money either go to the state or part of it go to the estate. And then the next thing is if you don't have the money for a trust or for a will, leave the money to the church if you have nobody else to leave it to.
Amen.
I mean, there's so many things that you can do to learn how to do something to protect your assets. We talk about generational wealth. That's something that I see so many minorities have an opportunity to add to, but we leave it on the table. So find out more about how to protect your assets, but also believe in yourself. And for white people, through the inequalities or the unrest that I've seen in the last year, it's been amazing to me how many have come to me and sat down and had a conversation about what I feel or what I've been through. And what is amazing to me is for so long, that was just kept to yourselves, I guess is the best way to say it. So a lot of that for me is thank you. Because until we can find others besides blacks to be able to see the injustice, we won't get any further with it. So making sure that we are able as blacks to be able to communicate and help you see some of the injustice, or being, for example, when I say that I have to talk to my son about being pulled over, and you don't have to talk to your son about being pulled over by the police, and you don't understand now that there is a difference between the two, you listening and you understanding that something needs to change is something that's important. Thank you.
Denise, same question. What do you say to black people, and then what do you say to white people?
Absolutely. So to black people, I would say, first and foremost, don't forget the bridge that carried you over. That was clearly a saying that Mr. Walker, would remind me of regularly, and it continues to stick in my heart. And it's really just don't forget where you came from. I think keeping it real is so important. But in addition to that, staying focused, continuing to keep that grit, like my, other good panelist has indicated, and maintaining that determination. As we grew up, we were taught, and I know they say it a little differently now, but, I go back to the grind of which it was just said, you're going to have to work harder, longer, faster, be stronger to be considered equal. And once you get that in you, it works for you. It's okay. It works for you, and it continues to carry you through. So I would encourage you to understand that and to, lean into that and lean into your existence. Don't let anyone tell you or define your possibilities for you. You determine your future and your magnitude. So to all my brothers and sisters, and most importantly, always look back. None of us are where we are on our own. And so I think we not only have the responsibility, but the accountability to reach back and lift up. So that's very important to me. And to my white colleagues and friends and brothers and sisters, I would say, continue to ask questions, continue to work with us. Many say, particularly as we, again, have acknowledged through these times of the pandemic, and I think it's important even for me, because whereas there's a lot of tension, for people, when I was coming through, there were a lot of African Americans who were not in the position to mentor me. They didn't have positions to expose me to boardrooms or to, whereas I got excellent mentoring. A lot of my mentoring came from white males because they were in the positions to offer me the type of mentoring, and they did not see me as a threat. And so from that standpoint, I say thank you, but I also say it can't stop. We have to continue it. We have to continue to work together. And ask the questions, continue to offer that. It's going to take all of us to make this work, and that's what I would offer up.
Brother Rashid?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To my black brothers and sisters, when I reflect back on my life, I never gave up on myself, always believed in myself. So if I had to say anything to you, believe in yourself, and whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve it. To my white brothers, I'd also say that for my white brothers as well as my black brothers, I would say this: together, we're stronger. Let's continue to work together with one commonality, and that commonality is God. With God as our support and our foundation, there's nothing we can't do together.
Amen.
Oh, okay. This is for all of you, and Denise, we'll start with you. And the question is, what would each of you be doing if you weren't doing what you're currently doing? And would either of you like a fish aquarium in your building? That's the question. So answer both of them, Denise. What would each of you be doing if you weren't doing what you're currently doing? And would either of you like a fish aquarium in your buildings?
So if I was not the CEO of Family Health Center, I think I'd like to run Rashid's Chick-fil-A. I'm thinking I'd like all those cars stacked up at my own Chick-fil-A. And no, thank you. I don't want to manage a fish aquarium and the cleaning. I'd send that over to Rashid. Rashid can have the Chick-fil-A. But no, I think that's the beauty of it. I actually love what I do. I love working for my people. I love getting up. And not that it's hard, not that, doing the grind, not that it doesn't get tiring, but that's the beauty of it. I truly, truly love the work. So I feel very honored. I feel very blessed to truly do what really motivates me, stimulates me. It gets me going.
Rashid, we'll come back to you with that question because I got a tag-on question for you individually. Awesome. So you're getting a lot of questions in, man. Brother Bolton, we'll ask you, what would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're currently doing? And I don't know if you can have a fish tank in the bank, but if you do you want one?
No fish tank. Growing up, well, actually, every sibling that I have was involved in athletics, and they all coached. So growing up, I thought pretty much for sure that I would be teaching and coaching. And then as I got older, as I mentioned earlier, I saw needs and other things that I could do in banking that probably we had enough people doing in teaching and coaching. Plus, there's a little bit more money in what I do. So if I wasn't working in banking, I probably would be coaching.
Right. While we're with you, there's a question for you before we buddy take it and go to Rashid. I got one that the hot one for you, Nate. It says, which banks are, and Reverend Mo Brooks, you got to help me with this, which banks are black friendly, and we don't see any credit unions. Yeah. What banks are black friendly? Yeah.
Old National Bank, that's it. No, I'm just kidding. That is a tough question to answer because by law, everyone has expectations to have diversity. And obviously, like anything, there's ways to get around that. I think that is something that each individual has to judge for themselves. What I would encourage anyone who's looking at banking, whether it's a bank or a credit union, is ask yourself, can you answer the question, who's your banker and what are they doing for you? If you're not known when you walk in that door, or if they're not trying to help you when you walk in that door, are they really your friend? I mean, that's something I take I'll go back to Idris when he was saying customer service. Customer service is the backbone of any industry, in my opinion. So when you walk in a place, if they don't know you, black, white, or indifferent, that's probably not the place for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, brother Rashid, the first question, what would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing, and would you like a fish tank?
Chick-fil-A?
With big fish in it. Would you like a fish tank in your building?
I don't think the health department would allow me to have a fish tank in either one of my restaurants. I wish I could, though. And if I wasn't operating Chick-fil-A, I would be working in manufacturing or distribution. That's why I spent most of my, I really cut my teeth in food manufacturing, so I'd be working in those industries.
Yeah. And another question that came in is, what is the historical perspective that has been in place to keep Chick-fil-A open on Sundays? But I think they mean closed.
Oh, man, that's one of the best decisions our founder, Truett Cathy, has made, in my opinion. He realized that he was working so hard, he was working 7 days a week, that he needed at least one day for family and for rebuilding himself with his faith. And so, hence, he closed down on Sundays years ago, and from my shoes, one of the best decisions ever made. So, super thankful for that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so very much. We're getting to near the end of this. This has been a tremendous session tonight. Nate, would you say one more word? Because when you were talking to blacks and you said protect your assets, can you go through that one more time to talk about protecting your assets? Because I think that's a message that we really need to hear.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple facets to that. To begin with, right now, if you have an account or you have a house or you have a car or whatever, if you don't have anything in place to say, if I die, where does this go? So obviously with a deposit account, checking, savings, CDs, et cetera, you can have beneficiaries on your account. The most common thing to do is to say my sibling, my children, or whoever. But what I see so often is no one is listed as a beneficiary on an account. A lot of people will say, well, I don't have that much anyway. I can guarantee you, if you go to church, your pastor would accept that $100, that $1,000, that $10,000 if you list that church as your beneficiary. The next part to that is when we start talking about generational wealth and you see how money is passed on from generation to generation, that's done by you protecting your assets. But also it's done by doing some planning while we are here today and living. So there's things that you can do, and all you have to do, again, is who's your banker? Sit down with them, talk to them. They can help you start now building your wealth toward having something to leave for your children. Always that 10% for your church. I'm going to keep doing that the whole time I'm talking. And also understanding that you can help leave a legacy financially for your survivors, I guess is the best way to say it. It doesn't have to be a trust. It doesn't have to be a will. There's other ways that you can do it by simple means of having beneficiaries listed. Now, obviously, the more money you have, the more things are going to become more involved with the trust or a will or estates, et cetera. So estate planning is important, but the main thing is understanding that your money is important regardless of how much it is, and you should leave it to someone. I know I keep saying the church, but whoever you choose to leave it to, if it's not, I'm so old I have nobody else to leave it to, whoever you choose to leave it to, it shouldn't be the state.
Amen. Thank you so very much for that. Look, tonight has been exciting to me. We need you to comment and tell us whether you were informed, because we've got a four-four purpose. We intend to inspire, inform, encourage, and motivate. Buddy, what do you think? How you think?
I think these panelists, the guests tonight, have done that. You know, listening to their stories and listening to what they have to say. I'm sure that someone out there was inspired, someone was motivated, somebody received some encouragement. You know, so I think we've done that. Before we go, I do have one question for Denise. It's just a question I wanted to throw out at her. Denise, more and more places now are beginning to offer the vaccine and everything. Is the family health center still a place people can call to kind of find out things? How are you handling that?
Absolutely. So we will continue to give you information as we get so you know the vaccine is heavily regulated, but as we get vaccine, we will absolutely continue to give it to the community. So you can always call us. You can call your local health department. Again, it's just a push and pull, so to speak. As it opens up, we will continue to make it available.
Okay, cool.
This has been great. This is ending the every week segment, so we'll be moving to once a month now, and our next segment will be March 25th. And so we'll be back on March 25th. But to close this every week segment, we got a surprise tonight. We got a boost tonight. We got the conscious brother Buddy Hanna. He's got a poem that he's going to share with us tonight. So this is the bonus for tonight, for you tuning in tonight. Come on, Buddy, let's do this poem by popular demand. Buddy Hanna.
Well, you know, this is Black History Month, and we encourage you to celebrate Black history throughout the year. So this poem, I had to write this one because I knew he was going to ask me about, you know, reading one. So I made sure that I had one, and it's called Don't Forget This Poem. This poem is for my people, for those who came before us and fought and died so as to make a way for us. for those who died for a cause, for those who died just because their skin happened to be black, for those who died believing that their death would make life better for generations to come. This poem is for my people. This poem is for my people, for those who marched with Dr. King in pursuit of freedom and justice in places like Little Rock, Selma, Montgomery, Birmingham, Atlanta, Memphis, and many other places in between. For those who marched without fear of the police dogs and the pressure from the fire hose. For those who were beaten but refused to fight back. For those who was beaten and refused to turn back. This poem is for my people. This poem is for my people. For those who believed, as Dr. King believed, that you could take a stand simply by sitting down. For those who had to use the back door, the side door, any door but the front door. For those who never gave up simply because the door was closed. For those who had less but did more than what many of us are doing today. For those who knew there were a better life to be had and they sought to have it. For those who paid no attention to the signs that read, whites only. For those who were told they didn't serve colored folks here. For those who responded by saying, we're not looking for colored folks, and they refused to leave. This poem is for my people, for those who sought freedom and justice at any cost. Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, the Black Panthers, Freedom Riders, Medgar Evers, Adam Clayton Powell, Angela Davis, John Lewis, Jesse Jackson, Andrew Young, and many others whose name we may never know. For old ladies with sore backs and knees from scrubbing floors in homes that they couldn't afford, but they got up off their knees and they carried themselves with dignity and pride. For old men who had to answer to boy, uncle, or any name but their given name, but they answered the call to take a stand when they was called upon to do so. For the parents of 4 little girls killed in a place of worship, for Emmett Till and so many more like him. For the mothers and daughters who was raped of the body, but not of the mind. For the fathers and sons who was beaten in the body, but not in spirit. This poem is for my people. This poem is for those who answered Dr. King's call for nonviolence and carried themselves in a respectful manner, even though they was not treated with or given respect. For those who made a way out of no way, so as to pave the way for others. For those who gave until there was nothing more to give but their lives, and they gave that without hesitation. Yes, this poem is for my people, for those who came before us, for those who came with us, for those who will come after us. But this poem is especially for those of us who have forgotten the history we made and the high price for our freedom that was paid.
Amen. Awesome, awesome. Come on, give me some hand claps and give me some amens. Give me some thank yous out there. Awesome job, buddy, man. That was worth waiting for. And thank you for that poem to remind us to not forget that poem. That poem is for her, for us. And this is what this month has been all about as we're celebrating Black excellence. And that poem actually lifted that up. And we have been celebrating individuals that's in our community. And this is history that we're making on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, individuals that's making our community better, making humanity better. So thank you, Denise Crawford, Family Health Center. Thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rashid. And thank you so very much, Chick-fil-A. Thank you, Nate Bolton, Avon, Old National Bank. Thank you, Buddy Hannah, for closing us out with that rousing poem.
Thank you.
So look, it's time to go, and let us pray. God, we thank you for this moment that you provided for us. Thank you for individuals that you birthed. Lord, you've trained and you've infused with your spirit to move to excellence, to use what you've given them to serve humanity and to make our country, our community better. We thank you for the guests that tonight, the energy, the ingenuity, the intellect, the drive in which they have on a daily basis to serve you. Lord, we thank you now for our co-hosts and every person that has tuned in tonight, that we will be moved from this place inspired, motivated, encouraged to move forward and do the work that you've called for us to do. We honor you and we love you. It's in the precious name of Jesus we do pray and ask all things. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for streaming live with us. Visit our website mountzionkalamazoo.org or follow us on social media. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to worship with you again soon. Thank you for streaming live with us. Visit our website mountzionkalamazoo.org or follow us on social media. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to worship with you again soon. Thank you for streaming live with us. Visit our website mountzionkalamazoo.org or follow us on social media. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to worship with you again soon.